I have been doing a lot of baking lately, learning how to make cookies from scratch, starting my own sourdough starter, failing with that starter, and trying again and finally getting a beautiful loaf. With all that being said, I've noticed I don't have an apron. Even if I'm trying to do something simple like feed my sourdough starter, I would like something to cover up my clothes, especially if I have to feed my starter quickly or if I'm on the go. The obvious route would be to go and buy an apron, and sure, I can get a cheap one on Amazon or find one at Walmart or Target, but really, what's the fun in that? About a month ago, I found this super cute pillowcase at Goodwill for only 99 cents. I picked it up thinking that I could do something with it. Something simple, something easy that I could upcycle this pillowcase fabric into something new and useful again. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Shelby. I am an artist, a thrifter, a crafter, anything where I can use my hands to create something. I love being able to do that. In today's video, I'm going to be taking one of my Goodwill finds and giving it a new life. The tribute for this video is going to be this super cute pillowcase. I found it in one of my thrift store hauls about a month back, and you can find that video here. But I will be turning this pillowcase into a much needed apron for all of the baking that I have been doing over these past couple of months. And then maybe we'll bake something with it at the end. We'll see, maybe. Anyway, let's get started. First things first, let's give this pillowcase a good wash. The apron I am wanting is simple. It needs to cover my shirt, go down to about my knees, and tie in the back. Super easy. Upon inspection of this pillowcase, the front can easily be the skirt part of the apron, but if I have it start at my waist, then I'll need some extra fabric for the top. I'm going to cut out the back of the pillowcasing to use for the top of the apron, and also the ties for around my waist and neck. I love the ruffles of this pillowcase. It's ultimately what gave me the idea to turn this into an apron when I first saw it at the thrift store. Moving on to the top part, I don't need it to be the full size of the backing that I cut out, so I'm going to cut one of the pieces I got from the back in half to create the top. And so the edges don't fray, I am going to roll the edges of each side of the top about an inch and top stitch them down. Things are looking really nice with this so far. Anyway, to connect the top and bottom parts of the apron, I'm going to find the middle of the skirt and the top and mark them with a pencil. Because of the cording around the apron, it was a little difficult to pin everything together. That's where my fabric clips are very useful. I have had these for the longest time. I think I got them back in high school when I was first getting into cosplaying, and they haven't failed me yet. I never had this problem before, but I have had like 4 of these just break out of nowhere. It's like this little plastic piece that's breaking. Now, in hindsight, I have had these for like over 15 freaking years, but still didn't think they would just break like that. Oh, look at that one. Look, it just breaks right there. It's like a weak point. That is crazy. God, this is looking so cute already. Now I just need to do the straps. Next, I'm going to create the ties that go over my neck and around my waist. Using the leftover fabric from the back, I'm going to cut it into strips that are 2 inches wide. This size will allow me to create 1 inch wide bias tape that will be strong enough for the ties without being too bulky. With the pieces not being very long, I am going to have to sew each piece together diagonally first, which I have never done before and do need to consult the YouTube elders. Go back to pinning them. Figuring out which is the right and which is the wrong side. Okay, I need to put them together like this. Put them together in an L shape. Shout out to Wendy Greats. Grats. So I'm gonna pop this up into the machine here. Okay, and then she says to. Hold on. Pause. And she says to sew on the diagonal. So they are right sides together. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I clip off this extra so that when you open it up. Oh my god, I did it! Oh my gosh, so cool! Oh my goodness, I did it! And then I'm going to iron these in half and then fold these in the middle like that, and then fold over like that, and then do a top stitch so I can have a string to tie my apron on. If I had to have a favorite stitch, it would be a top stitch. A good top stitch just makes your item look more clean and complete, and it also reinforces seams, especially with high use areas. To finish off the apron, I sewed the straps about 3 inches into the waist so that there would be less weak points for the straps to come undone. I don't like having to adjust the neck part of an apron every time I put it on, so I am going to measure exactly where I want the apron to sit and sew them to the top, reinforcing again those high use areas. And of course, would this really be a DIY project without a hiccup? I noticed when I tied the apron on, there was a lot of fabric in the middle, creating an annoying pocket. But I have an easy solution. By adding a pleat in the middle, I can get rid of said annoying pocket and add a more feminine touch to the top. And now for the reveal. And finally, it's time to bake something. It was on a warm fall morning before Thanksgiving that I was chosen by the bread gods to take on the ever-enduring task of creating my own sourdough bread. It was a brilliant idea. I could have fresh baked bread for the holidays of feasts. I could make mini loaves for gifts, since I don't like partaking in the over-consumerism of Christmas. Yes, I had it all thought out and was ready to go. Until I learned that I knew nothing about sourdough starter, and it took me a month and a half to finally have something good enough to bake with. It also did not help that Houston decided to get cold, and for all of my bread makers out there, you know that sourdough starter does not like the cold. But I digress. I have been trying to learn how to cook more lately to save money, and also learning how to make things from scratch to try and cut down on how much preservatives I am consuming on a daily basis. Now, I know I'm never going to be able to cut my preservatives out completely, but knowing exactly what is in the food that I consume most will help me feel better in the long run. Making my own bread from scratch was definitely a process, but it also taught me how much work actually goes into the food we consume, and that patience is crucial when it comes to baking. This is exactly my 4th loaf that I will be making that is actually doubling in size and rising like it should. My first 2 loaves, that I don't even count as real loaves of bread, were dense and too thick to be considered sourdough. They did have the flavor I wanted, so it was a good start, but knowing how much flour to add, how long to let your dough rest, and what temperature to rest it at was all a learning process that took several weeks. I know this loaf is still not perfect, but I can see the progress I have made since my first one. If you are learning to make sourdough as well, let me know in the comments, and also if you have any tips or tricks for those out there who are also struggling, leave them down below as well. We can all learn something new from each other and maybe finally figure out what we're struggling with in the first place. Alright everybody, that is it for this project. I love how the apron turned out. It's super cute. It covers everything all the way down past my knees, so if I'm baking, and sometimes I can be a pretty messy baker, it will hopefully protect all of my clothes. If you like this project, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment if there are any projects you would like to see in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.